Hello again, traders. Right. If you're following me on Twitter, you'll know I'm heavily into the Robinhood thread. Um, Priceless to me in many ways because he agrees with almost everything I talk about, and that is incredible. Cryptos being toys, but keeping an open mind. Just about everything. He had a great post about the pit, how the pits and Seabot and Chicago and the gangsters traded, and fascinating. He's the real deal, and the main thing, he's not selling anything. So he's taking his time to educate newer traders, much the same as I've tried to do, and it just gels so well with me. Anyway, to the point, what you can see on this chart currently is a DAX chart, and I've just been, slowly reading and rereading his thread, and I've not got to the end yet. I know he leaves, and I don't blame him because there are, quite frankly, such idiots on there. You have to sift through the rubbish on that, on all the threads on Forex Factory to find the diamonds, but that's life, isn't it? But I've just recently added these two things here, the whole moving average and just the other five. I think it's a 5 or 7 moving average. I don't know. Let's have a look, actually. Uh, 5 moving average. So, and we're looking at this right now, but this could be any time frame. It's H4. And look at this also. All of this mess. This is what I look for. Sideways, we know that's sideways, but on lower time frames, there will be plenty of opportunities here using um, uh, what I could call now the enhanced 3CR strategies. So everything still for me revolves around the 3CR, 2B reversals, the TMA slope and RSI histo momentum. But this tool put together by Swingman is a combination of all of the different stuff that Robinhood laid out on page one of his thread, as he keeps saying, and it's true. Everything you need is on page one. But as I like to test stuff against my existing indicators, that's exactly what I'm doing. This is nothing to do with the Robinhood strategy, but for me, it is so powerful at the moment that it will remain on my charts for as long as it doesn't get cancelled, as it were. So look at all that mess, all that sideways, and then all of a sudden you can just see it under that arrow. All four turn green. That means the Heikin-Ashi candles are doing their stuff as if they were on that chart, and they would all be looking correct on multiple time frames. And look what happens instantly. I don't even know where that green arrow comes from because it doesn't relate to these blue arrows, or turquoise arrows. So I need to dig deeper into that. And I don't trade by the arrows anyway. I would never trade an H4 blind on based on some sort of arrow on the chart. That's the RSI histo arrow. We've got a bug in the RSI histo that when for some reason when it's on indices, it doesn't print big. Talked about that in previous videos. But anyway, now you know how I set out my charts now. I would just draw a descending trend line. This would be a 2B. This would be a perfect 2B on, say, for example, the H1, M30 or M15. Remember, we're on H4. But the whole point of this was that I'm looking for this situation on any time frame when I'm waiting for a trade. I use, as you know, I use my multi-time frame candle close analysis as well, which is pretty much unusual currently until someone steals it and sells it to something else. But um, I'm not really that interested in this sort of situation where it's green or it might turn all, when we've got all this sort of situation, what I would be looking for really is all red for a possible short, although RH, Robinhood, is actually turning me into a very, very much slower uh, and read by that, I mean longer term trader. I posted a load of charts on Twitter this morning of the monthly charts and such like, weekly charts, and how clear such a simple thing. I've never ever visualized moving averages, because really it doesn't matter whether this is the 5, 7, 4, or 6, and it doesn't really matter whether this is the 12 whole moving average HMA, or the 11, or the 13. So don't get all hung up on the numbers. It doesn't really matter. They would look hardly any different. What matters is this gap, and the lack of a gap sideways again. So, and you may well then say, well, why is this all green if this is sideways? Well, the obviously the Heiken ashes are all green. That's all there is to it. But we can clearly see this is sideways, and this is where the TMA comes into its own, because unless that's green or red, there is no long trade green or short trade red. And we can see this is clearly a little bit sideways here, and when it takes off, the TMA turns green. So as this is an important message that Robinhood puts across, as a trading system, method, strategy, you have to actually learn which indicators work best for you, whether it's this, or this, and then study it until your eyes bleed. But as I say, the whole point of this was just to highlight the fact that I like all of this mess, and this is where this is powerful. None of this really tells me an awful lot at all when these are like this. But when they come into alignment, in other words, all four Heiken Ashi candle time frames are green, or you might get a load of mess here, and then they all of a sudden all turn red. I like the mess. I've talked about this when I was using the Bollinger indicator, and that's still perfectly good, of course, but there's pointless having thousands of indicators. I know I've got loads already, but this, I took a continuation trade on gold, based on my longer trade from yesterday, based on the three time frames, the H4, the daily, and the weekly, all being bullish. I mean, this is the stuff I'm learning from Robinhood. So, but I forgot to say that this is ultra important. It was all bright green. There was nothing else. So, as I've mentioned before, when I come back to my charts, or when I open up charts, first thing I look at is that. Then I study everything else, probably a dozen different things: the 3CRs, the 2B reversals on multiple time frames, the TMA, the RSI histo. Everything on this chart I use for every trade, but this is the starting point. And obviously, now I'm getting so familiar with Robinhood's moving averages, I start to look at the weekly and see what that shows me, and all the other charts. I mean, I will switch now. We've covered all of this. We've covered this, hopefully. If you go to the monthly, I was looking at this on monthly. I mean, that's his continuation trade there. As I say, maybe if I hover over that, it does tell me what it is. 4 time frame HA up. Oh, it must come from this then. Right, okay. 4 time frame HA down, I expect. God, I'm so slow sometimes. Oh, it's not going to show me. No, but you can see what's happened there. But having said that, actually it will do that because it only shows you a monthly. I do apologise. But anyway, it's still showing the arrows, right? At perfect entry points there. That was a failed one, but there'll be multiple reasons why not to have taken that trade based on the time and so on there. So when you get this, don't hit the trade because it won't show until all the time frames are closed. But look at the pullback and then look at that huge move. Same here, pull back and look at that huge move. No coincidence it's with a 3CR. That was a 3CR down there, although it'll be my fault the settings are wrong. There's a 3CR. Well, no, it is a 3CR. Excuse me. And we didn't have a pullback there, but you can trade the break of the high, provided multiple time frames and the timing works. So everything, and this is telling me the monthly is, we're long. And that is such a simple way of looking at it. Any pullbacks on the lower time frame, go long. That's a revert. No, that is actually a continuation trade because the HMA didn't cross over the uh, EMA. Simple as that. I mean, it must be the way he's explained things as opposed to guys with less than, because he had 40 years experience in the markets back in 2019, I think he said. So we're now six years later. So he's still trading away, hopefully healthily, um, and just doing great things. And as I say, it is the ways he's explained the moving averages as opposed to just a trader with 2 or 3 years experience that uses moving averages and is probably not trading real money anyway, and they don't explain it the right way. It's all a mechanical thing. He explains it as a unmechanical thing, an intuitive thing. I think that's the big difference, and he's got so much credibility. So yeah, and you can flick through a ton of these. US 30 I think is on a reversal, yeah, and US 100 still on a continuation. Unless that's a reversal, and that is a reversal long trade. Look at that, how that green arrow and the four green, all four. I mean, that's why I love this little thing, and that's a mess. Look at that. Look at that mess, 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 and then all of a sudden, and it doesn't look back. So look for the mess, guys. Mess, mess over here. All of a sudden, it doesn't look back. I wonder how that gold is doing. Oh, it's hovering around the same area. So yeah, Robinhood knows his stuff, and it is the way he's explained it. I've only just thought of that. Look at that green arrow. I bet there's four new there, but I don't want to be really, the lower time frames will look like this when you get a blip like this. So, and this is what I want to see. Mess, 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 and then boom, green arrow, and it barely looks back. Mess, 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 boom, and green arrow, and next candle doesn't look back at all. In fact, it doesn't look back after because as I say, you've got to wait for that. Then look on the lower time frame, small pullback, and then continuation. Massive, massive moves on the weekly. So if you don't do anything other than one thing, make sure that one thing is studying Robinhood's thread. Priceless, absolutely priceless. Anyway, there was a guy in my last video asked for the indicators. I'm just going to ignore those. If you can't be bothered to read Robinhood's thread, find the indicators, go to my Twitter feed, look for the indicators. They're all there. Just do the work, guys. And apologies to the guys that do the work. You know who you are. Thanks for your support and thanks for watching. Have a good day.